Hello, everybody. Those of you who are on replay, it's just Wes and I right here today. We're going to be talking about how to unlock your short-term rental fortune. And I'm Al Williamson. Okay, so did you know, Wes, that 36% of all the travel is probably higher now? I got to check this stat. Are travelers who are staying 1 to 6 months. You probably already knew that, right?
Yeah, I had a pretty good idea.
Yeah, and it keeps growing, especially with the cloud computing. It's really growing, and people aren't having any problem. When 5G comes out, I see it growing even faster because there's not going to be so many delays on the internet. So it's
Hmm.
going to be even faster. Very, very little reasons to go into work.
Absolutely.
So we got these hotel brands going. You probably have a lot more in Grand Rapids, Michigan, who are taking advantage of this and positioning themselves with this just a hotel room with a kitchenette, small kitchenette. And each one of these things, Wes, each one of them costs about $22 million to build. And you probably, how many in Grand Rapids? Probably three or four, right?
Yeah, I can see all of these are here. Every
Yep,
brand is here.
yep. And they're very, it's not much to compete against them. And they're saying that the market is strong where you are. No question about it. So for those we haven't talked to before, you're going to discover that there's this arbitrage principle that drives cash flow. We're going to talk about that and talk about how you can get a piece of the $550 billion hotel industry. You need some of that, and a way you can definitely retire in 2 years, and you could be working in your lazy boy, trying to have good posture like I'm in. I'm trying to make sure I have good posture and talk to you. And this might be for you if you like recurring passive income because extended stay furnished rentals will definitely give you that. And if you're willing to copy successful people, it's right there for you. You can just do that. And if you have any vacancies coming up, like before we started recording, Wes was sharing that he's talking to he manages properties. He's talking to his owners about furnishing at least one rental in a multifamily. And I think that's so smart. That's going to opens up a world of possibilities for them, find out how much money they're leaving on the table once they do that. Now, this webinar is not going to be for you if you are comfortable already and you don't want to put in any work if you're rich already. And if you think the internet's a fad, this is not your webinar. And this is definitely not a get rich quick type of thing. There's a lot of work involved, especially a startup. So who am I? I'm Al Williamson. I'm usually around talking from stages, and I study short-term rental industry from a perspective of being a landlord and investor, and how someone who starting from scratch can follow a plan and generate quite a bit of passive income. So I usually defend that and answer questions about that and answer questions about technology as well. And I've been making it on bigger stages now with a bunch of smart people. So I'm getting there. Total of 19 short-term rentals right now. And either I own them outright or it's through some type of partnership or through some type of joint venture. I've been joint venturing with people in the Sacramento area. If you see right here, I'm kind of clustering, if you can see that, I'm clustering in the downtown part of Sacramento. So for that reason, I do not coach anyone in Sacramento. And I've trained over 700 people, well over that now, trying to get them up and started with short-term rentals or medium-term rentals, mid-term rentals. So I've answered and I've heard just about every question. So I'm pretty good. This is something I'm pretty good at. So the state of Airbnb is the latest stats is that they have 2.3 million rooms under management per night, whereas the Marriott, the JW Marriott, has 1.1 million rooms under management per night. So Airbnb is doing about twice the transactions as the Marriott. In fact, it's probably doing twice. It's doing more than the top three hotel chains combined, brands combined. And Airbnb is in 191 countries, and the Marriott's in 101 countries. So it's quite a difference. It's just taking off. Wes, do you see anything to slow down this trend?
No, I really don't see, it's so, it's just so non-restricted. The one thing that does, maybe come to mind is the individual city or metro ordinances that are, those restrictions that the townships and cities and metros put into place regarding what can be done inside of an Airbnb or how many could be done in any given year, as far as number of properties or what the owner can do with the property through Airbnb.
Right. Until it becomes in their financial best interest, right? And then they'll
Yeah,
tax it.
right,
They'll
exactly.
tax it and release it.
Which is happening already. It's already becoming mainstream. We have a little town here west of Grand Rapids toward the lake shore called Spring Lake, which is a nice sort of bedroom community, I guess, or a vacation spot.
Yeah.
And they just legalized Airbnb in the township. So
There
that
you
took
go.
off.
There you go. All right. So a side note here is this is for those who are watching. This is a big nugget for you that I'm one who went to school and was raised to go to college and get a good job and keep getting degrees so I could get promoted. And and that's true. Employees need degrees and certificates to get promoted. But if you're an entrepreneur, it's a different way. Entrepreneurs go for coaches and people who already done it before, like all high performing athletes, musicians, and CEOs all have coaches. So that caught me by surprise. I didn't realize that. As soon as I did, I got a coach for myself and I let my 9 to 5 job go. I wasn't cut out for that. But anyway, back to short-term rentals. There's a there's a lot of ways to make a large gross profit with Airbnb and these other short-term rental things. But the thing is it takes some skill and some discipline and some know-how if you want to make a large net income. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about that because the solution is, specialized training for investors versus people who are sharing their homes is a completely different thing. And the training needs to be to help investors increase their profitability as passively as possible. And when I say profitability, I'm talking referencing what they would earn as a traditional landlord. But you know that about me, Wes. I always reference you can operate the property as a landlord or as a short-term rental. Only the money that you earn beyond what a landlord earns is what I consider profit.
Right.
So I got two secrets for you, and to become more profitable. One is definitely a marketing. Wes and I were talking about the importance of marketing, and arbitrage is if you know these two principles, this is really all you need to if you're a waiter to leave your waiting job and retire on short-term rentals. If these two principles, and I'm going to share those. Let's talk about right now. Let's talk about Adam James. He is in Tulsa, and he grew up in the church. He was the son of a pastor, and he did all the right things. Went to school, got a master's in engineering finance, and then he started a house flipping business. And he had several crews, and he was doing really well until 2008 came. And 2008 wiped him out completely. He just found himself out of everything. He found himself humiliated and homeless. He was ended up sleeping in his car, and he didn't feel he could go back to his community because he was giving success talks and everything like that while he was doing well. And he sunk into depression, and that led him to counseling. And he told me, he said, Al, um, that was the best thing because he learned that language and ideas is what generates cash flow. And that gave him a sense of something he can hang on to, and it got him back into the game of house flipping. But he found that he was hanging onto the homes too long, and that was eating up his profits. And he felt like he was making everyone else rich, but he wasn't actually getting much money himself, and he wasn't feeling successful. He felt like he was busy, but not profitable.
Mhm.
So he reached out to me and he said, "Can you help me turn these homes into short-term rentals before they sell?" And I said, "Yeah, I want to introduce the blitz and pivot strategy to you. This is one of 12 different marketing uh, strategies that we have that we teach. I said, most people think about vacation rentals when they think about Airbnb and short-term rentals. That's really the majority of the activity that people think about. But there's also um, military housing and corporate housing, student housing, little offshoots of short-term rentals, and there's insurance housing that's really neat short-term rentals, medical housing, and temp housings. So there's 6 categories on top of vacation rentals, in addition to vacation rentals. Now, Wes, tell me which one of these do you think is the absolute most recession-proof
I
category?
would think I got to go with temporary housing. Well, temporary housing, corporate housing, and student housing seem viable to me.
Yeah, yep. And every area has its own category that's completely recession-proof. Whereas, what do you think is the most vulnerable to a downturn in the economy?
The vacation rental for sure.
Yeah, and that's where most of the activity is. So if people see a slowdown, they just quit. They don't know how to change categories. And inside of each category, that's why we call it blitz, because you can be in all these categories. And we say pivot because when one category slows down, you can pivot into the other one. Because you have a furnished rental, it's easy to get into these other ones and start marketing activities. So blitz and
Mhm.
pivot. So this is how he was able to fill his rentals, and he started doing really, really well relative to Tulsa. He started making about $700 per month per unit, and this is this is in addition to covering his holding costs. So that made him feel successful, and he decided to stop flipping because flipping, you're only as good as your last flip, right, Wes?
Absolutely.
You run out of money. So he started this, and that made him feel successful. And I said, Adam, can I share your story? And he said, absolutely, Al. He said, Al, you saved my life. Whatever you need. And I said, Adam, what do you mean by that? He said he was thinking about committing suicide when he reached out to me. And I was thinking, I kind of look like him, and I have a master's degree, and all that could have happened to me too. So
Hmm.
I felt I felt bad for myself and
Yeah.
bad for him, but I'm glad he got back up. And he also said, Al, if you share my story, be sure to tell people that I don't sleep in my car anymore. He said I use it to go to the airport and go on vacations. So he
There we
does
go.
a big vacation once a year now. He's doing really well. Doing really well. So that's the first insight, is that you can use short-term rentals to become more recession-proof, much more than a furnished rental. So it is a very safe thing to do if you have the know-how about these categories, and you know how to um, to pivot, okay, between the 6 categories. You can actually thrive. So did you already knew that, Wes? But how many categories do you have in Grand Rapids, you think?
So all of those that you mentioned are here.
Okay.
The
So
6 categories are here, plus the vacation rental is here.
so it's a very safe thing to do. It's a very safe
Absolutely.
thing to do. All right, let's talk about the secret number 2 is rental arbitrage. And this principle, in addition to knowing how to market. Once you know how to market, you know it's safe, then you can do something like rental arbitrage, which otherwise you would think is scary. And what is rental arbitrage? It is when you rent someone else's rental from them. Okay. So you go on Craigslist or whatever, and you find the right location that you want to be in, and you actually go and talk to that landlord, and you talk to them, work out all the issues in the lease agreement that might keep you from subleasing or operating your business from there, and convince them to let you furnish the place and to market it to business travelers and so on and so forth. So the rent and everything, your holding costs may cost you $1,000 a month to do this, and your job is to bring in $2,000 and $3,000 of income from these other people who want to stay there. And you pay the landlord their 1,000, and so if you bring in, say you bring in 2,000, and you pay the landlord and your holding cost that 1,000, you get to keep the difference. And that's what makes it so that you're making money out of thin air. You don't have to own the property, you just have to control the property. And what's better about this, and what really makes it sustainable, Wes, is that when that cricket by the chimney on the roof, when it starts leaking up there, where does the cost to repair that go, Wes?
That's going to the owner, yeah.
It goes to the owner, not to the person operating the short-term rental. All the maintenance goes to the owner. So that really protects the cash flow. And here's an example of that. So Rochelle, she's in Reno, Nevada, and she heard that I focused on business travelers, and I always talk about net income. And she found herself where she needed to take care of her best friend's kids because her best friend was dying of breast cancer, and she needed some extra cash flow. And she said, "Al, I can't be bamboozled. Does your course work? Yes or no? You know, I don't have any extra money to guess at it." And I said, "It does, and I'm going to walk you through it. Make sure that you do it," because she was an emotional wreck at the time with the burial and the kids and custody issues. So we because she couldn't focus, we had her use one of our checklists to make it all happen. So she followed the checklist, and she was able to find the right location, the right price place, and she found this place in Reno, Nevada, close to something that's called Hot August Nights, which is a festival. So she was staying close to a festival because she knew it would be in demand once a year. So she can make a lot of money if she could house people who are coming in for that 1 week. So that's part of our strategy, and she followed that blueprint right there. And the next part was to furnish the place, because you have to furnish the place so that you can actually break even quickly. If you spend $20,000 on furnishings and make your place look really, really good, like you do on HGTV, well, you can make a good monthly income, but it's going to take you a long time to pay off that initial investment. So that's the number one way that people make a mistake. Short-term rentals is they overpay, they over improve. And I was forcing Rochelle and shaming her and doing everything I could to make her pay attention to her startup costs. So she was able to hit consignment shops and her friends and borrow stuff, and she did a very just reasonable job of furnishing this place. That's consignment shop, Ross, and just leaving things that, not overdoing it. Used a bid from her own home, her guest room, got up and going. And what she did, she started using some of our marketing techniques, and she found a supervisor of a construction company, and he was going to be in town for 10 months. Okay, so he's one guy who had a housing allowance about $100 a night, so $3,000 a month. And she showed him the place, and he loved it, and they negotiated a price so that she could actually make a profit off of it. But she said, you got to move out during Hot August Nights because I need to house people that are coming to town. And he realized that if he moved out, he would have to pay higher prices somewhere else at a local hotel. So they negotiated back and forth, and she said, "Why don't you pay me more each month and just stay put so that you win and I win?" And that's what they did. That left her with a net income after bringing in the money from him, paying the landlord and other expenses, $900 a month. Is that pretty good for Grand Rapids there?
Oh yeah, that's good.
A net income? And let's talk about those numbers. So remember that the guy has about $100 a night housing allowance, but they negotiated that he pays Rochelle $2,100 a month. So he was happy, okay? He's pocketing money. The rent she paid to the owner of this house, the landlord, is $850. Now she pays utilities, Wi-Fi, and some renter's insurance, $350, and that's what leaves her $900 a month. Okay, so to get all this, she was following all of our guidance and making sure everything was in the parameters so that she'll walk away with a good profit. So that's a lot of money. If you look at this, Wes, look who's making more money. Is it the landlord or Rochelle?
Yeah, she's outpacing by about $100 a
And
month.
and the renter, the landlord typically pays a mortgage and insurance and taxes and everything, right?
Yeah.
So the landlord's net income is way down
Mhm.
compared to her. Her net is 900. His net income, after he's got to pay taxes for sure out of that $850 and possibly a mortgage and insurance and then maintenance. So he might be walking away if he's lucky with $200 of net income per month.
Mhm.
So that's the big deal is that you can do this. You don't have to own the property. You can control the property and make quite a bit of money. So what's more insightful is her startup cost was just $4,100. So she was able to pay first month's rent, a security deposit, all the furnishings, okay, for $4,100. It's not bad. It was a heavy lift, but she knew she could do it. And remember, we talked about her net income per month is 900. So if you do the math, she breaks even in 4.5 months.
Mhm.
She gets all her money back and starts making a profit, and that's pretty hard to do in real estate. I don't know how else you can do it in real estate. And here's the thing: that's just with that 10 months, not doing annualized. 10 months is 120% return on her investment for that. So she uh, was amazed. Still doing really, really well. And when you put up these numbers, then investors come out of the woodwork and try to want to join you.
Mhm.
That's the thing. If you're posting those numbers, and so I said to Rochelle, I said, can I use your story? And she said, yeah, Al, but tell people that she said I didn't do a good job explaining that because the rate of return is so great, you can borrow all the money. You don't have to come out of pocket $4,100. You can borrow that from a credit card or from someone else, preferably from someone else, and then pay them back in 4.5 months.
Mhm.
And then you're making money out of thin air. You think is that an exaggeration, Wes? Do you think?
No, no, it's she's doing it. It's she doesn't own the property.
She
You know,
doesn't own
she's
the property, and
got to
she
pay.
doesn't really at this point she doesn't need to all the other ones she's done. She hasn't had to come out of pocket a penny, and she creates these long-term cash flows.
She's doing it. She's doing well with it.
Yeah, that's money out in there. Yep, she really, really is. So she said, Al, I have to do a better job explaining to people because people are always concerned about the startup money. So I promised her I would. I said, so the second insight is that you can, anyone can do this if they have the know-how and they have the desire to actually pull it together. You got to do the market research on it. So I told her, okay, from now on, anyone who wants me as a coach, that I will help them understand that they can raise the money and show them how they can do it. So came up with a pitch deck that anyone can use, so you can explain it to other people what you're doing and create an investment for them. So then you don't have to strain on coming together with the startup costs. What do you think of that idea, Wes?
It's a great idea.
Yeah,
Investors are they're
yeah,
just wired that way. They
yep.
want to see they want to see data.
They want to see data, and she just didn't know how to do it, so she's always thinking about her own resources instead of becoming a great investment for someone else to invest in. And
Hmm.
once you do that, then you don't have to worry about money anymore. So these two secrets, marketing, if you know how to market, you're not worried about the place going vacant. That's the key. And there's a lot of different marketing techniques that you can use well beyond Airbnb. Airbnb is just one planet in the solar system. You don't have to even rely on it. And then rental arbitrage so that you protect your cash flow and that you can position yourself in the best parts of town. So those two together are what has retired several folks in our community and really um, funded retirement accounts and helped out with college tuitions, a number of things, just knowing those two things. And like we were talking about, Wes, if there's an extended stay in your neighborhood, then that's all the marketing and research you really need to do. You don't really need to do any more than that. You know that you know what's going on. You just need to know how to market and how to control a property.
Right. Yeah,
So
occupancy for extended stay can be upwards of 75, 85%,
yes,
for that particular brand, I guess.
yes, that's exactly right. But if you yourself had a choice between, let's say you were traveling and had a housing allowance, Wes, and you're staying in town for 2 months, and you had a extended stay hotel that you could afford to stay in, or a more affordable um, house just like Rochelle, where you can actually pocket some money and have your own privacy, which one would you choose?
Well, I've done it. I actually 15 years ago, I did a lot of consulting in Phoenix, Arizona, and I always stayed at the extended stay hotel, and I hated it. It was white walls, white appliances. It was just a bad experience, but it really was the only thing I had that I knew about as a consultant, and I did not enjoy the experience. So now that I see the advent of Airbnb and these other service department type opportunities, I'm definitely more inclined to take those up for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially if you get, not only is it nicer, but you can pocket some tax-free money. That's
Right.
all the better, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Hey, you got any questions for me?
Yeah. So real quick on what if you run into a scenario where there's a property, but it's managed by a property manager, then you've got a landlord. Are you walking away from that opportunity, or are you trying to get to the landlord? Because
No,
um,
we have some of those. We have some of those. And this property manager, they get, a little commission for keeping the places filled and turnover. And
mhm.
they're also in their best interest. They don't want to do the least amount of work they can get for a qualified tenant is good for them. That's their self-interest. So the relationship goes, we started with one, and now they call me every time they have a vacancy because I'm qualified. I make their place look great,
Mhm.
better than they can maintain it, and pay on time, and they don't have to put in a lot of work they don't have to do any showings and things like that.
They just call you, and you become the tenant basically, L.
Yeah,
Williamson, or
I'm the
your
tenant.
company.
Yeah, yep. If I'm doing arbitrage, I'm the tenant. Yeah, stand by it, make the place look great. Uh, I only focus on business travelers, so they love the profile.
Hmm. And then
So yeah,
but you're paying rent from the get-go. You're not working out any allowances as far as, occupancy has to be a stipulation before the rent payments start or any of that, right? You're just coming in, you're going to rent on such and such a date, you're going to make the improvements, and then you're going to go from there, right?
that's right. I come in, I set myself up just like the easiest tenant in the world for them. No special
Mhm.
requirements. Just let me operate my business, and I typically take, if there's any in between gas, I add drain openers, biodegradable drain openers, and so to prevent clogs and prevent all that stuff that you get called in the middle of the night. I take off locks and I put on digital locks, so there's never a lockout, and
Mhm.
change off light bulbs. There's just no problem. So we just get in front of that type of thing. We followed a quality control checklist to get in front of all that stuff. So
So
they
then
don't.
the renters,
All they see is the online bill paycheck coming through.
so the renters call you for maintenance
Yeah,
problems?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we minimize that by preventive maintenance.
Okay. But that's
Yeah.
still an owner cost, right? You're going to pass that cost on to the owner, a maintenance issue.
Well, if something did come up, like an air conditioner going out, then yeah, that is a owner's cost. If there's a
Okay.
leak or something like that, but if it's a little hair in the drain, first of all, we would take care of that because we're in the hospitality industry. People want it done quickly, and I don't
Right.
want to uh, turn my clients and to have to wait, just like because we're in the hospitality industry, right?
Exactly.
So I got to get to it. But even better than that, I consider that a failure because that should have been prevented by preventive maintenance.
Right.
So
Yes. On the front
if
end.
if I get a maintenance call, I consider myself a complete failure because there should have been addressed.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of harsh, but that's how I stacked up my business so that, you know, um,
No, that's
you don't
good.
want
That's
to get
good.
calls. You want to be at your kid's ballet recital, and you don't want phone calls.
Right. That's good to hear because um, a lot of people would try to get the maintenance costs passed on to the owner or the property manager.
Well, if it's a significant one, say over $100 or something like that,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. If it
But
was a system failure, the hot water heater blew up or something, or the
right,
yeah,
yes,
that's the thing.
yes. I still would go over there and turn off the hot water. You know, I prevent flooding and whatnot and relocate my tenant. But I definitely would pass that on to the. I definitely pass that on. Sometimes sometimes I oversee the repair, but I don't pay for anything big. So it's got to be a win for the people that this really works out. The owners are owners who want to be passive and have nice places.
Yeah.
Those are the ones. Yeah.
Even less involvement for sure.
Yeah. 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 So you know, we always people always say, well, what if you fail? What if you try, take one of your rentals off the traditional market, furnish it, and what if you can't make it work? And that's what I say. If it's furnished, then you got all those places you can blitz and pivot.
Hmm.
And if that doesn't work, what I'm saying as far as keeping it as a short-term or medium-term rental, if that doesn't work, then you can make it into a long-term furnished rental, just traditional furnished rental for 1 year um, terms, leases. And if that doesn't work, then you can take all your furnishings out and do a traditional landlording. And if that doesn't work, then it goes vacant. But you have a bunch of safety nets. So Wes, some people give me a hard time by this, but I think furnished rentals is safer than traditional landlording. That was kind of
Yeah.
my conclusion.
There's more control.
More control, more ways of preventing financial loss.
Right.
Yeah,
Because less wear and tear. You don't have people moving furniture in and out. Once you have a tenant that's willing to pay a premium on above market rent, this is a different type of person. So the wear and tear factor really kicks in, and they're a little less needy than the average tenant. A
yeah,
short-term rental, they're
yeah,
there taking care of business, doing something else. They're not going to be really connecting in too deep to the proximity, the area. I mean, they are at some level, but people that are renting traditionally, they get real integrated into the living aspect of the property and the surroundings. So they tend to take less care of the place.
yeah. There won't be any birthday parties in the place for sure.
Right. Or yeah, exactly. Or family gatherings or whatever else is going on, you know.
Yeah, yeah. So, and the thing that kills me is people don't try, and that's so expensive, especially
Mhm.
at this. Wes, I've been talking about this thing for 5 years now, and
Right.
people that started it are doing great and often position themselves out, but people don't try. I worry about them because they're going to be on the same. They know where they're going to be next year. They're going to be in the same path, and this is such a life-changing thing. So I'm encouraging everyone to try, so you can change your life. It'd be a complete different. If being in the same spot where you are now next year, same financial spot is unbearable, then you definitely need to try this. Is a very safe thing to do. Now,
Yeah, and with
go ahead.
the with the methods you talked about as far as okay, let's furnish the place and have it a short-term rental. And if that doesn't work, then let's take the furnishings out and run it as a traditional rental. Well, at that point, even if it's a wash, you've washed out your investment to a zero balance. Let's say you're not cash flowing, or maybe you're cash flowing a little bit. You're still not losing money. That particular piece didn't work, maybe, but it's not like you're going in the whole $1,000 a month or something. You might be doing something and getting experience on something that you need experience for. But it's not a detriment to go to market rent and pay a landlord market rent, because that's all he wants. Whereas you're shooting for what, 20, 30, 40, 50%, 100% more than market rent on a short-term
Right.
rental, right?
Right. Yep. And could you live with yourself if that happened? If you tried and you ended up washing?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've done it. I've done it where it's broke even. I've done various types of, flips and rentals and this type of thing where it's a zero balance, or it's making a little bit of money, nothing spectacular.
But you
But
learn a
as you
lot.
do it
Yeah,
more and
that's how you
more,
learn.
yeah, as you do it more and more, you find out what demographics, like you're speaking about, and really geography drives a good portion of the ability to make premium,
Hmm.
as far as location is concerned.
Yeah, location and knowing and positioning in the market, absolutely.
Yes,
That's
yes,
definitely there's a whole bunch of um, shining parts on that diamond. There's a lot to that. You're
yes.
absolutely right. So for those, I want to tell folks about the resource that I have. Is now repackaged. I think you were first met me. I was doing Airbnb for landlords, and then Airbnb's legal team came after me. Especially since I'm not recommending. I don't recommend people live and die on Airbnb. They said you can't use our trademark, so I rebranded. I
Okay.
call I call myself what I focus on is extended stays for landlords because
This
I'm
is
looking
better.
for 30 days and longer is my specialty.
It's a better look.
Good. So there's 6 steps because also by teaching people over 5 years, I wanted to make a self-explanatory so there's no user manual needed. So I came up with 6 steps for this whole path. Step one is an overview. Step two is discovering your market's potential. So I coach you through first the overview of how things look for someone who's coming to town for 1 to 2 months. Airbnb looks completely different for them. And then you got to know what your market's potential is. Just like Rochelle, we did a checklist that kind of prompt you and help you look at the market. And I see everyone traveling, they're either tourists or travelers, and we just focus on the travelers. So that's the part of the research that we need to do. Step three is furnishing your rental, and I encourage people to use a checklist right there because you want essentials in there first, and money you have left over, then you decorate. But if you over improve, it just takes you forever to break even, and sometimes people quit before they even broken even because they're just fried out. So that's really, really important. This checklist also is connected to things you can order offline or online. You can get them for free. I encourage you to do that. But if you just want everything mail order, you just click your way through that. The fourth step is marketing, which is the absolute most important thing. You got to know how to market. So um, we talk a checklist for all these systems here, all these categories, and I create checklists so that you can hand it off to your assistant to do because you want to be proactive, monitoring all these things, and you want to be proactive marketing so that you don't have vacancies. That's the thing. You don't want vacancies. There's also templates on lease agreements and guest manuals and all kinds of systems that I use, and it makes it really easy to get going with marketing. One of them is this countdown sheet, Wes, where we keep track of um, the date people moved in and the date they moved out, and then we're counting down until they move out. And for example, this first one here, 34 days. When it hits 20 days, then my assistant starts a whole new marketing campaign. And as they move in, she's sending the guests different messages. when the guest, the day after the guest is there, she's sending them messages because she's following a different checklist. And before they move out, we do another checklist for people who are moving out so that we get Yelp reviews and different things like that. So it's all well thought out and is all set up for your assistant to run. Or you can run it yourself, but I like having an assistant stay on it and check it for an hour a day, and that makes my life easy.
Yeah, that's nice.
So that's included. That's included there. And a traveling nurse system, all the things that you need to know about traveling nurses. I didn't talk about this time, but um, traveling healthcare professionals is one of the biggest categories of people traveling for extended periods of time. So all the ins and outs. I've been serving travel nurses for about 5 years. I rent directly to hospitals. They sign leases directly with me. So I know the industry really, really well. And I walk you right through that. Okay, so the 6 steps. The last step is rental arbitrage. Oh, no. You got to market, then you got to know how to transition. If you're starting off, it's easy to get short-term stays, but you got to take that and transition to longer-term stays. So that's step 5, is walking you through that pivot. That's really important. And then step 6 is rental arbitrage. Then all the details about rental arbitrage, scripts. If you want to, what to say to people. A lot of people just don't know what that. Remember we talked about Adam. He said ideas and language leads to cash flow. So you got the idea. You just need to know exactly what to say. These scripts have been used by a lot of my students, and we modify them to make sure that they work. And worksheets to make sure you don't overpay. Keep yourself in those ranges. And I'm big on checklists now. So I call it the 6 steps to financial freedom. It's with all those 6 steps. The value is 1,597, and I got some bonuses too because I want to make sure people are successful. First of all, I want to make sure that they know exactly what to do. So that's why the 6 steps, and each step has several tasks that you're supposed to do. So you know exactly what to do next, and there's just no way not to know not to make progress. And the first thing we do is a group coaching. So it's a monthly calls and Facebook group, and I show you what I'm doing at Facebook nearly every day. Take pictures, and I'm sharing you what I'm learning. So you're gonna be able to stay current on everything, and that goes on and on. There's no expiration date on the private coaching, so it is a $2,500 value. And if you get stuck, there's email support to me. I think Wes, we traded some emails before too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm pretty fast. So I'll get back and forth to you, help you grow. I'm up at 19 now, and I have to use different corporations, and there's different. As you get bigger, you have to use different tax strategies. So I can help you grow from 1 to where I am now, 19, getting ready to pick up 4 more. So I can definitely help you do that. And we talked about funding. I'm going to help you put together a pitch deck. Use a template. Start with my template, so you can raise money if you don't have money. I remember it used to be so intimidating. People say private money. I shut down because I understand, and I couldn't see myself asking someone for money. But the truth is, people who have a little money will rather invest it with you than to have it at 0.5% in the bank. They need good ideas. So I help you present that. And whatever, people are stuck. There's usually something that they're stuck in. That's why a 30-minute consultation. Whatever you're stuck in, we're going to figure it out. I've done this a long time with a lot of people. I can help you out. We can overcome whatever it is. So during that time, we're going to address whatever you need. I call it ninja training. And this is typically has helped people make an extra $500 a month. This strategy and positioning, ninja training. So that's why it's $3,000 of value. That's how much you could earn in 1 year with that $500 a month. So if I put all this together, the 6 steps is all you need. Then the group coaching to kind of hold you accountable and then make sure you have people cheering for you. Unlimited email support, but ninja training, $3,000 consultation. It's a $9,997 value, but I don't charge that much. It's again, I give you a money back guarantee, 30 days to look it over for $9.97.
Nice.
That's it. And to get it, you pick it up at extendedstaylandlord.com. That's my new site, extendedstaylandlord.com. Once you go there, it looks like this on your laptop, and you click the enroll in the course button, and you'll see this, the class curriculum. You can go ahead and click on the preview, and it talks to you about the 6 steps. And there's a preview right here about getting started with Airbnb, and a preview about the rule. So again, you can see that there's 6 steps, and there's tasks to be completed. And as you complete this task, then you're ready for the next step. And you just make progress like that, and then you get the cash flow. It is as foolproof as that. As foolproof as that. To purchase it, you click one of these buttons. I have a 4-pay system. You can 4 easy pay and pay it all at once, which is cheaper. And a money back guarantee. And that's it. That's the 6 steps. You just follow those steps and follow what other people have done, and you'll have the same result, same success.